Hello and welcome to WPYP. Why I'm here, I don't know. It's kind of accidental, but John was nice enough to invite me.
Well, introduce
My name is
yourself.
Jim Olivera. I have a little show called The Poet's Podium. And you can see I'm on Cruise with Mary. And it's good to be here. Thank you, John. Hi, Kyle.
How are you?
I hope I survived this little event. But it's good to be here. And hope it's a very hot day, right? And,
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about movies, life, society, John's inner functions.
I think I'm going to get one of those chairs over there. That's more.
It's a little lower, isn't it?
I could go over and sit next to Kyle.
But,
these chairs are so hard.
Yeah, I know. Now, John, I defer to you. Welcome to
Well,
WPYP.
I'm gonna. No, you
That
just
means-
keep talking.
that means we
why
pick
don't
your-
we introduce Kyle?
Okay. And here we have Mr. Kyle
It's
CLayton,
Kyle CLayton, correct? Yeah.
co-host,
I'm co-host of the morning show.
one
Yep.
of the stars of the morning show. We'd like to now expound upon what would you like to talk about, Kyle?
What was it we were talking about?
We were talking about a bunch of things. I love my chair. I think I have the best chair in the
Kyle
house
loves
right
his
now.
chair. John changed his. And
Oh,
mine's
that
cockeyed.
sucks. You do have the best chair.
You made me move.
I always wanted to ask you, you were talking one time a couple of weeks ago, Art Carney beat out Al Pacino for the Oscar.
He beat
1974, right?
1974 Oscars, which were given away in
Now, do you agree
April
with
of
that?
1975. He was up against Al Pacino in The Godfather Part 2.
Right.
Jack Nicholson, who might have been the favorite, in Chinatown.
That was a good
And
movie.
he was up against Dustin Hoffman, who had never won an Oscar at that point.
Up to that point, yeah.
And was not only a great actor, but also a great movie star. He was a very big top 10 box office star.
Not bad for one little guy, huh? Dustin
Yeah.
Hoffman there.
I wouldn't call him little because he's 3
Yeah.
inches taller than me. I
Oh,
actually
yeah,
met
so was he
him.
like 5'7"?
And he was for Lenny. I don't recall who.
That was a
and,
good one. That was.
And I think James Whitmore, the character actor, was up for Give 'Em Hell Harry, which, that was just, he was never going to get
There's an
the Oscar
underrated guy,
anyways.
James Whitmore. I think he did theater.
Oh, yeah, I
didn't he?
saw him. He used to come and do, what's the place next to Jaffrey? Our Town.
Huh.
Peterborough Playhouse is an excellent playhouse. It's equity players, which means they're union actors. And I saw him in our town. He was excellent. That wasn't his only Oscar nomination. But I think that what happened is that Al Pacino and Jack Nicholson and Dustin Hoffman split the vote.
Cancel each other out.
Yeah, so Art Carney came in. And Dustin Hoffman had already insulted the Oscars in the great tradition of George C. Scott and
Did he?
Marlon Brando. So.
Yeah, but I was gonna. Art Carney did do a great. There was a nice little movie, Harry and Tonto.
I've never been able to watch the whole
You've
thing.
never seen it?
though.
It's a sweet.
Oh,
it's
I
kind
have
of a sweet
seen
movie.
it, but I've never watched the whole thing.
He ends up
It
with the old
bores
lady
me.
with all her cats, and she lives by the beach and everything. And he finally settles down. He finds peace. And
I never got
sounds
through
awesome.
the first 45 minutes. I do like his performance in what was the movie where he's the detective with Lily Tomlin? Oh, The Late Show.
The Late Show. Yeah,
Robert Benton,
that's a 5-star movie. They got 5 stars.
who got nominated for an Oscar as a screenwriter for Bonnie and Clyde, and then that was his first directorial movie about 1976, and he won the Oscar for Kramer versus
Kramer versus Kramer with
Now,
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep won the Oscar, and Dustin Hoffman won the Oscar. But everybody knew Apocalypse Now was actually a more significant film. But Hollywood is Hollywood.
Right. Do you love the smell of napalm in the morning?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Robert Duvall.
That film was really something.
I read somewhere, maybe, I don't know if you agree on that.
Do you agree, Kyle?
Do you agree,
that
Kyle?
Apocalypse Now was really something?
It was something, and I do love the smell of napalm in the morning. Yes.
You love the smell of napalm.
Love it.
And there's no Beatles songs in Apocalypse
Thank
Now.
goodness.
Yeah.
So how was it in Vietnam?
It was very damp. A lot of
damp.
humidity. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just. But that lingered on for a long time,
The
didn't it?
leaves kept falling. It was weird.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of
The
Agent
defoliation
Orange.
from
Yeah.
Agent Orange?
Yes. Thank you for that segue.
I read somewhere, I don't know if you agree, that from the period of 1967 to 1976 was the greatest 10 years in the history of film. I know
Well,
it's
some people
subjective,
say
I
that,
guess,
but
yeah.
you're just looking at like the top films. They also made such films as Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, where TV's Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, bared her breasts. I saw that
Instant
at
hit.
cinema, Screen 2 at the Bedford Mall.
Really?
And I'll tell you, it was spectacular because back then, we only had Playboy and stuff. Didn't have the internet, so we were limited to our pornography.
Wow.
So I know that it changed my life.
Oh, you got the phone.
Ooh.
It's probably Mary. What the heck
Hi,
are you doing?
is this Linda Carter? Welcome to WPYP.
God, I wish I looked like her. Hey, Jim.
Mary?
Yeah, I just got home. I'm sorry.
I came here looking for you, and John was nice enough to invite me on the show.
We knew you'd abandoned him, so we
no,
weren't going to
I
break
did.
it to
I
you.
swear to God.
I was wandering the streets. Where's
Everything was
Mary?
really
Where's
good.
Mary? You all right?
I could pop down and come on the show, but
Yeah, pop down.
Does he? Do you let him
Sure.
drive?
Well, she's.
Yeah,
Mary,
we were
Can you pop
expecting-
down and bring my glasses? Maybe John will let me read a poem.
We were expecting you to be coming in to get him, and so we were going to ask you to be on the show.
Can you pop down and bring my
okay.
glasses?
Mary, pop on down.
I'll give you $100.
Hey, pop on down.
It's,
pop on
it's
down.
real money too, not
That's real-
WPYP money.
So,
Okay, I'll be down in a few minutes.
okay, great.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get your glasses.
Now we got a show, right?
Well, when she comes, you're going to have to shift over there because it'll be you two.
That'll be fine.
You're right.
I'm just happy to be here.
Do you want to do the shift right now so you don't get demoted right in front of her eyes?
fine.
That would be humiliating.
That's fine.
Okay, let's
Thank
do
you,
the
John.
shift.
Let's do
What
the
did, what?
shift.
Yeah, let's,
You're going to shift over here.
I'm shifting.
Carl.
And I'm going down to the end.
No, you'll go right. Well, wherever you.
I mean, this is the best seat in the
missus
house
is
right
gonna
here.
be.
This is good.
Yeah, you should be in the middle because you'll be reading your poem. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Kyle, you get the hard seat. You can
all
get.
right.
You
Hard
can
seat.
start working on your first hemorrhoid.
Yeah.
I'm a hard guy. It's all right.
Ooh, boy, that was a tough seat,
Yeah.
All right.
when you've got burning piles.
If I would have known, I would have brought my joke book.
I,
Jokes nobody likes, I read on Mary's show. Everybody.
I've written a script about based on Lenny Bruce in Hell, and I think Kyle would be the likely person to
He
do
was
it.
he was a very bold individual, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he had brass balls.
Now they
man.
showed in the movie. Is it true? I'm sure you probably know. Did he actually sit? Eventually, did his act? Did he sit on stage and just read the newspaper?
Yeah, you can actually see that.
He'd
But
quote the headlines and.
the movie Bob Fosse, who won the Oscar for making Cabaret,
Right.
and also got nominated for an Oscar for 79, all that jazz.
Yeah.
The movie Lenny's very well worth watching.
Very.
Hoffman's great.
Very
And
profound.
Valerie Perrine is in it
Yeah,
as his
she's
stripper
excellent.
wife.
Yeah.
Oh God, she was one of those sex pots.
So there he was
Naive.
standing in
Love a
front
good
of the
sex
judge,
spot.
stark naked, at one point.
I don't know about that.
They arrested Lenny Bruce.
Well, Albert Goldman wrote the book, Ladies and Gentlemen, Here is Lenny. And he's the one who wrote that controversial biography about John Lennon.
Another question, your vast knowledge. Was George Carlin a disciple of Lenny Bruce in some ways?
Yes, they were arrested together because he refused to leave the club in Chicago. Because they told the people in Chicago, they were just waiting. If you watch the movie Lenny, I'll send you a link to it from a Russian
Okay.
bootleg.
I've
site.
seen the movie.
Of course, it's a Russian bootleg.
The Russian bootleg.
Well, they don't respect copyright. So
You got
you're
the
a poor
Ruski
guy.
bootleg. What you're doing?
You have to
John?
watch out. Some of them do have.
Oh, okay.
They don't dub. They just talk over.
Oh.
And it's the man doing all the voices.
Well, you
even the
speak
women.
different languages, so it's fine for you usually. The rest of us, we have to. Well, I
My English
and
is
a
a
little
different
French,
language.
yeah. But anyway, as you were saying,
Oh yeah. He, he was.
it was a great movie. Very, very intense.
But
movie.
his humor was very transgressive.
What did you
as we
think of him
say.
in Little Big Man?
Oh, he.
The
Dustin
transformations
Hoffman,
he makes in that. He's 100
Dustin
years old.
Hoffman's probably the best actor of his generation because he could play comedy and drama.
Not to mention Rain Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely not my shorts. Yeah.
and he was also a huge star, a
Yeah.
top 10 box office
Huge.
star.
Now, he broke on the scene playing kind of. No, actually, The Graduate was in California.
Yeah,
he was
The
from
Graduate.
California.
They were going to cast Robert Redford, but Mike Nichols, the director,
Really?
who had started out as a comedian, him and Elaine May, and he asked Bob Redford, he says, have you ever been refused when you tried to get laid? And he said that Redford didn't understand what he's saying. So he said, that's not the person to play Benjamin Braddock.
Yeah.
And so they went to the complete opposite direction, Hoffman. Charles Grodin was the other choice.
There was an underrated guy. He used to have a talk show. It was always come on. He used to come on.
I
in
didn't
New
think
York.
he was that great.
You didn't
an
like him?
actor.
No. He was a big Simon and Garfunkel fan. Was good. I think he was good.
Well, we don't have to.
Good buddies with Simon
You don't have
Garfunkel.
to put him down for the, you know.
No, I'm not putting him down.
My ex, one of my exes was a classically trained musician, and she couldn't stand Simon and Garfunkel.
Really? Yeah.
She couldn't stand their harmonies, but she thought the Beatles were great. But George Martin, who was the producer, they both was a classically trained musician, and clarinet. They were both
Do you
clarinetists.
think the Beatles could have been the Beatles without George Martin?
No.
Yeah. He
They
contributed
might
a
have been
lot.
like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I got to tell you, years ago, my father was in the hospital after his second heart attack. This was down in Florida, and I went to visit my dad. And just a quick story, if I may. And an Englishman named Teddy Wade was laying in the bed next to him. Very English accent, the whole 9 yards. And apparently, he was like an editor from England. He'd come to the Florida
often like in New York, your editors, like the copy editors,
film editor.
would be English.
But he worked on the
So we're
movie
talking about film
Help.
editing.
He worked on the Beatles. He met the Beatles, and he had met the
Oh.
Rolling Stones. He met these people. And so naturally, I started asking him questions. And he told me that Ringo, if you came right down to it, if you were going to meet people in real life, the real salt of the earth, the real person who would pal around with you, had no qualms, that you could be friends with, was Ringo. And he was the peacemaker. He was the...
But you know that Ringo was also friends with people like Princess Grace and multi-millionaires and everything. He could get along with everybody.
Yeah. Well, he came from poverty.
Well, he was
He appreciated everything that really more than...
right,
what
of
happened.
the Beatles, John and Paul were more middle class.
Yeah.
And George came from a poor family. I think his father was a bus driver. But Ringo came from the Dingle, which was, if you can imagine, the Dingle, which was like the worst slum.
Yeah.
But he became a jet setter, and he'd be palling around with people like Aristotle Onassis and Princess Grace of Monaco. But John Lennon could never get it out of his mind that
Paul McCartney's got a new book out.
Yeah.
It's
Really?
a poetic translation of
his lyrics.
the lyrics. Not all of them, but a chosen thing. It's still a pretty thick book, and I guess he was a recent interview. I know he's 80 years old now, but it's
80,
supposed he's
just
selling.
turned 80.
Supposedly it's selling pretty well, and actually it somehow Paul McCartney himself. I didn't know he was such a poetry guy, but suppose he.
I never heard of that.
In this interview, he talks about how he hung out with Allen Ginsberg. And Allen Ginsberg was
Allen
editing
Ginsberg
his
is
stuff.
the elementary penguin in I Am the Walrus.
I was just so Ginsberg with Dylan.
Ginsberg. Well, of course, Dylan was the great influence on John Lennon,
Right.
and that's why they didn't get along, because John could never get over anybody. He had an Oedipal complex, so he would turn against George Martin. Then he brought Alan Klein in, to save the Beatles financially. Then turned on him.
Who ripped them off? Alan Klein was.
Well, he ripped everybody
Yeah.
off. He stole he owns the entire pre-70 catalog of the Rolling Stones.
I read a book, a supposed. Yeah, that's right.
And Mick tried to warn him about it, John, but John.
Mick Jagger is pretty business smart guy.
Yeah, but he got ripped up because Alan Klein brought them to the States and signed a contract in the States with his company. And under the American law, Alan Klein finally wound up owning their entire catalog.
Oh, I believe it.
1970.
But in one of the unauthorized John Lennon biographies, Lennon is quoted as saying, "How can that little twit be better than us?" Referring to Bob Dylan. How can that little twit's?
Well, Bob Dylan won
surpass
the
us?
Nobel Prize for Literature.
I know.
And, well deserved, too.
But waited a year to go pick it up.
I didn't even think he did go to
He
pick
said,
it up.
like a true rock star, he waited a year before he went to go get it.
He was more than a rock star.
Well, he was poet laureate of that world, I guess.
Well, without Dylan, the Beatles don't. John Lennon, they don't advance out of the gibberish that was rock and roll. We're talking about rock and roll. Rock comes about 1968 when everybody's dropping acid, because then all the sonic textures really start changing.
You're right.
Of course, the Beatles started that with "Tomorrow Never Knows," which I guess they were into acid.
Yeah, well, but that's I think one of Ringo's best drumming solos on that one.
Well, "Tomorrow Never Knows" is just the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Well,
yeah, but
what was "I Am the Walrus" about, really?
Well, it's about the poem, the Walrus and the Carpenter. Of course, I was going to say Sinclair Lewis, who is who wrote the? Come on, Kyle, help us out here.
I don't like the Beatles.
Who wrote Alice in Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland.
Well, you're a co-host, so you.
Well,
have to get
no,
along
you
with
guys
that.
have segued into so many different things.
Oh, here we
I am
go.
completely
Sorry.
lost.
Lewis Carroll.
Lewis
Carroll.
Carroll
Thank you,
wrote-
Brenda.
okay.
Lewis Carroll. What are you doing?
I don't
With
know.
a hunchback?
No,
Well, don't
I-
sit on the mic.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just put that up there. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
Oh yeah, you have to
Mary.
bring the mic and put
Just
it
put
up.
your mic up.
Oh, okay.
Well, Lewis Carroll, hello.
Welcome.
Nice to actually personally meet
Thank you, John,
Okay.
for inviting me. So
And to make sure you two
Out
are
of the
close
way.
together because it
Oh.
looks better on camera when we have the
great.
big
Okay.
long
Hi.
shots. But Lewis Carroll influenced, of course, Lennon. He loved it. With all the Lennon was dyslexic. So,
That's right.
he would be very much attracted to something where language is fractured, like a Lewis Carroll.
maybe you had it back in the 70s as a kid. I had that little book he wrote with Yoko called Grapefruit.
No, Grapefruit is Yoko.
That's
he
Yoko?
He never wrote anything with Yoko.
Oh, that was all
he
Yoko?
wrote
That was
in his own
weird.
right and something the like.
Oh,
of a
Spaniard in the Works, right?
Spaniard in the Works.
Spaniard
right.
in the Works.
And it's kind of like James Joyce type of
Right,
almost
right.
gibberish. But of
Yeah.
course, because he had difficulty reading and saw language is fractured anyways.
Do you see Sgt. Pepper as the groundbreaking album that Paul McCartney claims it was?
Well, everybody
That
says
changed
that,
everything?
but everybody also likes to. I remember it because I was 7 years old. I remember all the Beatles albums
Sure.
and what a big impact they had. Like
Yeah.
when Abbey Road finally came out. Sorry, Kyle, that you would be caught.
You gotta admit,
Kyle
I
is
think-
the only person that hates the Beatles.
You got
I
to
didn't say I hate them.
I only like
but
the early
Their
stuff.
harmonies were incredible, I think.
Right, and that's what my ex. What she loved the harmonies of the Beatles, but George Martin would put them through the ringer. They'd have to
Right.
practice. And it was perfect. Where I can't hear the
Weren't they
anything
essentially
bad
after
in-
1966? Weren't they a
Simon
studio?
and Garfunkel.
They stopped touring, right? They became a studio band,
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah, but
And that whole Paul is dead thing started.
well, that's just
Yeah, I guess nonsense.
You know what I find that's really weird is that lately, because of Jim playing music, I
all
never
kinds of
listened to. I never listened to like. I mean, there were a couple Ringo songs I like. You know when
we
they
did a
kinda broke
Ringo
up.
song 2 weeks ago,
Oh.
but he wouldn't sing it.
I don't know it.
We
What-
had to
which
have
one was
Mikey
it?
Martineau sing "Boys."
Do you like to sing, Kyle?
Oh,
I don't like to sing either.
I don't. I can't.
I
But
can't, but it doesn't stop
I
me.
never realized
radio
how
voice,
great
though, if you like
George
to-
Harrison was.
Translate.
I
Oh, we have
love.
to. Can't have into talking.
I'm sorry.
Are we
What?
talking about George Harrison starting about 1966?
Maybe later. What is the stuff I like? What's that one
She
I
likes
really love?
What is Life?
What
His
is
solo
life?
stuff.
I
that's
like
a
all
great
his solo
song.
stuff.
His solo
yes.
stuff.
I just
yeah.
didn't know.
That from that great triple album.
Yeah.
that
All
he
Things
had.
Must Pass.
I would
All
love
Things
to
Must
get
Pass.
a CD of all his hits.
He's the one that evolved most as an individual, it seems, in a person. But he was, he's
Well,
a
he had
person
all
of
those
faith.
songs that the Beatles cast aside, right?
Yeah.
He'd been writing all those years.
I mean, he was very good, but Lennon and McCartney were up there, only.
But then he started palling
Dylan.
around with Eric Clapton, and that gave him a little bit of clout too, I think.
And thank God he didn't become a heroin addict like John Lennon.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, because Eric's his big problem was heroin.
Cold Turkey, wasn't that the Lennon song? Where he
Yeah,
was,
about kicking.
Almost like an exorcism on record. He was screaming and
Yeah,
Cold Turkey's
Yoko
got
and
me
him
on
were,
the run. Yeah.
were what do they call? What did my father call? They used to call before they call it codependency.
Codependency,
My,
yeah.
my uncle Red and his girlfriend were co-drunks, so they were co-heroin
Why
addicts.
did everybody hate Yoko, though, you think?
I hate Yoko.
I don't
hate
like her
Yoko?
either.
Do you think she broke up the
thought
Beatles?
I thought
You think
she
it was
did.
What do you think, Carl?
What do you think, Kyle?
I never met her.
He did.
You met Yoko?
No, another story, true story. In eighth grade trip, because I went to high school in Ridgefield, New Jersey.
What year were you born?
I'm in my late 50s. This was like around.
I'm
19
62.
This was around 1978.
I'm 60.
Anyway, we went to
I'm the senior
we
one
went to the
here.
park, class trip. We went to the park,
Central Park.
Central Park in New York, and we just gone to the zoo. We were looking at the Empire State Building. Nonetheless, we had finally made our the last leg of the trip before we were going to go back home, and we were just strolling through the park. It was end of the school year, June, hot summer's day, not as hot, and all of a sudden I'm walking with my friend Mitchell Rosen, and I hear, "You boys like some flowers?" And I turned, and who's sitting there with a fur coat on, and it's 85 degrees out, is Yoko Ono.
Isn't she really tiny?
She's very petite. I
Yeah.
would say she's like 5'3", weighs 110 pounds,
Oh,
something
she's
like
got to
that.
be smaller. Than
She's
that.
she's got kind of a,
She have big Jackie Onassis sunglasses.
She had big glasses on. She had big hair. She had the big floppy hats they wore
Yeah.
in the late 70s. But she had literally a fur piece on.
Which doesn't surprise me.
Do you think she was like
that-
a pederast that wanted to take you boys back to the Dakota?
I don't know, John.
People like me that hate her have said all sorts
No,
of things.
but of course the first
I wrote
thing-
a satirical article about her once.
You know what we said to her, like dumbbells, like not hi Yoko, nice to see you. And we said, "Where's John?"
Yeah.
We went,
we
"Oh,
don't
he's
care.
still
Where's
alive?"
John?
Yeah,
Yes,
he was 1978.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
she-
She was so shacked up in the Dakota, strung
Yes.
out on
Yeah,
heroin.
she was a little taken aback, like, "Oh, but you boys take a because she was okay with us. I don't really hate anybody, but we wanted to meet John Lennon, kind of thing.
Who didn't? Huh?
Yeah.
He was one of my heroes as a child.
But it was a brief thing.
Remember
and then
when he
got
got shot? Where if you were in Boston?
Yes, I
where
do.
Didn't
was,
did they
they
just
broke
let
in
him?
on the
No.
Patriots game,
Yeah, and they started
and Howard Cosell announced it.
right of all things. Howard Cosell.
Well, they were.
It's unbelievable.
John Lennon had dropped in on Monday Night Football, and he was interviewed by Howard, and
Right.
because he said, "Well, this is different than football that I know,"
Yeah.
but he says. A lot of English people, some are aghast at American football because football in the
It's
entire world
not,
is,
it's soccer.
is
Soccer.
soccer. Yeah.
That is true.
It's
Did you ever watch?
nothing
Did you ever
like-
watch English rugby?
I have.
Oh, jeez, I used to watch
all
rugby.
Where they're
Yeah.
all knackered. They
No
they-
commercials.
Yeah,
either.
and they just go crazy and they.
And
I don't think
they
wear
all have.
equipment.
You have to wear the ear band or
Yeah,
you lose
yeah.
your
That's
ears.
an option.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, well, if you don't, you see guys without
My brother was
ears.
in the military like you. The aforementioned job he could never tell me about, or he'd have to kill me.
Yes, I've heard that.
My brother Al, she knows my brother Al.
My
But
ex-husband
he used to
was
tell
in
me
NSA
he and his
too.
buddies, because he
Oh,
was stationed
me
over
too.
in Germany, but
98
they go
golf.
see soccer games. They play the
98 Charlie.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
But they would play Who
Which is
music, and everybody
terrifying.
would go nuts after the games, and they said they were like.
Oh
riots
yeah,
and-
yeah. Who are you and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they-
They have their certain songs that they love, but there was a lot of violence.
Very aggressive chants and everything. It was very.
Jesus, when I went over to England in '82, my brother now lives there. He was first stationed in the Air Force. It was like almost a third world country. Where you go to Germany or France, and it's a first world country. They really, it's almost like what is going to happen in the United States. They exported all the capital out of England to get a higher return in
So they have nothing.
Japan or China. So when I was a kid in the early '60s, an English bicycle was. My sister still has her English bicycle.
Really?
Yeah,
Bicycle.
a JC Higgins.
Bicycle. Is that
And that was the finest bicycle. The first movie Albert Finney's ever in, he's working at the bicycle factory.
Oh, that's right,
Sunday,
Albert Finney.
what is it, Saturday night and Sunday morning. But then all the jobs were gone, so nobody had a job. Everybody
They're on the dole.
was screwed. There was no money.
Yeah.
Then they got the North Sea oil. You know, Carl, they always tell these lies. Oh, Ronald Reagan drove the Soviet Union down. Actually, it collapsed from internal pressures.
Yes, it
but
did.
we're not gonna get into that. Or Thatcher and her capitalism saved England. What
Yeah.
made England flush was all the North Sea oil. I mean,
Yes.
you could have the worst socialist or communist as prime minister. All the money would be.
He knows a
coming
lot.
in. Well, wouldn't you like to be in Norway with all that North Sea oil?
I would love that.
Jeez,
so.
it's a social paradise. You don't have to work. College is free.
So, did you get to see the world when you were
No, I've only been to
shows?
Europe.
Europe?
It's funny because I was at the African Studies Center at Boston University, but it was my brother who had no interest in anything. He was in Black Ops.
Oh, really?
His security clearance was 23 steps above mine, and he was all over Africa and
Wow.
that. And
My ex-husband used to go, but it was the French.
French, yeah. My brother would be, because my brother always said, "Oh well, I wish Dad hadn't told us to learn French." My father, because then I'd
Yeah,
be
my
able
brother
to speak
speaks
French when I'm in Africa. I said, "Guy, first of all, it was Dad that said to me, because it was in the college course, don't take French, take Spanish. Spanish is the language of the future." Because he'd been in California
right,
during
right,
World
yeah.
War II,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he could read the demographics. And my brother was him and Keith Hirschman and them. They were all they used to have 4 levels, and level 4, they didn't get rid of anybody from high school in the 70s. You know,
Keith
you just
Hirschman. Why
hang
does that
on.
sound familiar?
Oh, he was a alderman.
Oh, okay.
I came back to Manchester, New Hampshire after many years and found that Keith Hirschman was an alderman. And, he hadn't just been an alderman; he was elected in 2013, but he'd already been an alderman. And I said to my friends, because I was in his we were Hirschman, Hopwood, and my friend Heidi Hamer, who's now a state rep.
That's a good name, Heidi Hamer.
We were all in the H's, so from the 7th grade to 12th grade.
Yes, you were
We're all in the
grouped
same
together.
homeroom.
Oh,
I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
If, and this is just an opinion, folks, if I had come back to Manchester and found out they took that gorilla from Benson's Wild Animal Farm, I think his name is Gargantua.
Yeah.
But there was a gorilla down there. If they'd taken that gorilla, shaved it, put it in a Robert Anderson suit, and put it on the Board of Aldermen, I'd have been less shocked to keep being an alderman. But then I found out what the Board of Aldermen was like.
That's
so,
interesting. I was going to ask, did it feel like coming down from the moon after all that intense experience with
it still
your
does.
and to come back into civilian life and then
Well,
just
I
not
was only
have
in
to-
the Army for 50 months.
Huh.
But what was intense is, you live in Boston, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Then you come back to Manchester.
You're very well read. I noticed. Yeah.
But my father always said Manchester was 25 years behind the times. But I
Really?
think it's kind of like 1946.
Well, you were out in California, of course. Right?
Yeah, when you're in California,
We lived in Arizona. It was close. I knew a lot of people from California, but I think I kind of get what you mean.
Silicon Valley, and you're there. You're right at. That's when time begins. And even then, you go back to New York City. And
Oh, there's
I
a-
was in New York City when it was a hellhole, then when it was better.
The
It was better when it was better. It was a hellhole when I lived there in the early 80s.
The Big Apple.
And
Yeah.
but even that, when you're in New York, they're like a couple of years behind the times.
You think so?
Because everything's happening in California, and then it gets eventually the other part of the country. But then you come to Manchester, but it's just it's just what it's like.
What is happening in California now? They're ahead of the curve, so to speak. What?
Oh well,
you can talk about-
California is now a medieval society. The middle class is wiped out.
Really?
You're either rich or poor.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know they have a huge homeless problem.
I wouldn't be surprised. It'd probably be majority Latino if it's not already. But it was stolen from Mexico in the conquest. They call it in Mexico the War of 47 or the War of Conquest, because James Polk, the president, they just decided to trump up something and steal half of Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, New Mexico. That was called New Mexico. There was California. They still got Baja California.
I remember as a kid, our first trip out to Arizona, even then they were saying, oh, California's going to sink into the ocean.
Oh, I've
been
been
going
through
on and on.
earthquakes.
Yeah, I was actually in a couple when I was.
The
We
San
lived in
Andreas Fault
we
is going
lived
to
in
break,
Monterey.
and California's going to be gone. Yeah, it's still here.
It's got like 40 million people now and no water. And,
But they're ahead. They're 46 years ahead of us.
well, it comes to, because we'll all be we're all going to go back to medieval times. My parents,
think so?
white privilege. My mother was born in 1926 into Dickensian poverty. My father joined the Navy as soon as he could. He tried to join at 17, but he had bad eyes, so he had to wait till he's 18.
Wow.
And 1944, nobody was enlisting. They were drafting everybody from 18 to 44. But he went down, and they took him, bad eyes and all. And before. He said every morning he had to go down to the mill, one of these mills, and thread a bobbin before he went to high school
Wow.
to study the commercial course. And he said, well, getting away,
That's
joining the
something.
military. First of all, it was supposed to be like an adventure,
Yeah.
He said after all the propaganda, you wanted to fight the Krauts on one hand and fight the
yeah.
Japs on the other.
Wasn't patriotism
and once
at
you
its
were,
peak?
Yeah, but once you're inside, all you want to do is go home.
Yeah, exactly.
And amongst soldiers, nobody cares about patriotism. The only people
Really?
you care about are in your unit.
In your
you
unit,
hate
yeah.
everybody else. There's stories. James Jones, who wrote
Band of Brothers?
From Here to Eternity.
Oh, the movie. I saw the movie.
When he came to Guadalcanal, well, he wrote a book after the war called World War II.
Well, they bombed Pearl
1975.
Harbor, of course. Yeah.
Well, he was there at Pearl Harbor. But the Marines that had held Guadalcanal, because the Navy just dropped them off and didn't give them any supplies because they were worried that they were going to get sunk by the Japanese, and they relieved that admiral for cowardice afterwards.
Really?
But or they just moved into another job. That sounds more logical.
Yeah, that's
The Marines, as the Americal Division, which James Jones, soldiers came on, the Marines, with their 1,000-yard stare, which he had never seen before, were encouraging the Japanese bomber divers as they were bombing the Higgins boats, bringing the guys in. They were cheering the Japanese on.
Really?
Well, yeah, because they went through theirs, so it's your turn to get theirs.
Now, not to be controversial, do you think Roosevelt knew?
No.
They didn't know. They didn't know
No,
it
they
was
hadn't
coming.
I think they'd broken purple, the code, but they didn't know. They didn't, Those were different times. So.
Yeah.
It's not like now where they have everybody's doorbell. They have doorbell cams now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they gave all the information to the cops.
Big
without
Brother's here,
warrants.
huh?
Oh yeah.
Well,
We're gonna get that in
1984.
Manchester. But how we got from the Beatles to
Oh yeah, I know.
what
How
was
we
it?
segued. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's been
What's your
so many
favorite Beatle
segues.
album? Back to the Beatles.
It's hard to say.
Oh.
Revolver,
Revolver.
Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, but it's like a. But the funny thing about the Beatles, how they were unique, is that the top celebrities and a top band only lasts 2 years, but they were essentially 3 bands. The one from 64 to 66, the one
Yes,
from
Right.
66
you're right.
to 68, and the one from 68 to 70.
True.
So they had an unprecedented run because they reinvented themselves.
Exactly.
This
Right.
would think, you remember part of growing up was, well, you're a little younger than me. I was only
Not only-
4 of us that first album. How much they changed.
Sure.
And society changed so
Well,
rapidly.
Paul McCartney said the fact that they were getting so locked in at being the Beatles, and it was getting so hard to be a Beatle at some point because they couldn't really, like Elvis, they couldn't go anywhere.
It's hard to believe, Kyle, but
They
were
dressed
the most
up-
popular.
Sgt. Pepper
I do
allowed
believe
them to
that.
put costumes on and be somebody else for a while.
Right.
And that was a great relief to them, and that transitioned them into, I guess, whatever how you want to classify.
My favorite
What
singer
happened
had
after
a
that?
bigger fan club than either the Beatles or Elvis Presley.
And what's that? Is it?
But he didn't last that long.
Go ahead, you can guess. I know.
now that she said it didn't last too long, I
It was like
tell.
Pop
70
singer.
to 74.
I think I love you. One song. I'll meet
David
you halfway.
Cassidy.
David Cassidy. That was her man. That was her guy. That was her
Jack
favorite.
Cassidy and son.
Yep.
Shirley Jones was the only stuff.
Come on, get happy. Don't.
Actually, that
Painted
was my
bus.
first concert. I was 10.
Were you 10?
My mother.
You went to see David Cassidy?
David Cassidy. Yes, he was
Do you
at the Bangor Auditorium.
Do you still have the Rolling Stone cover where he shows his pubic hair?
No,
This I didn't know.
neither did I.
Really?
Although I know what you're talking about, I've just never looked at.
I'm sorry to shock you, Carl. This was the 70s.
Well, yeah,
It's-
you
it's
wanted
quite
to
all right.
kind of,
I'm
you
31.
know, be
I've
something
seen it.
else. You didn't
70s
want to.
were quite different. I went to go to the movie Pretty Baby. I remember going to see it with my college girlfriend, and suddenly there's a 12-year-old girl stark naked on the screen.
Yeah, I don't think
And-
I'd
Jodie
fly.
Foster?
No, it
No,
was
no, no.
Brooke Shields.
Brooke Shields.
Shields.
Okay,
It was
sorry,
like,
yeah.
granted, we're Boston, not like
Well, I'm
Los
thinking of that-
Angeles. So the whole audience is like,
I'm sorry. I was thinking of Taxi Driver where Jodie Foster was like this
Holy
14-year-old
Christ.
prostitute. Remember?
that was a shocker
Yeah.
for the violence.
Yeah, you're
but
talking
now, violence is
It's
nothing.
not the
Nothing.
same anymore.
Well, what is your
It's
favorite
way-
band, Kyle?
My favorite band?
Yes.
Who inspires you? Who do you
It's
listen
not
to?
Kiss, so hopefully.
It's not Kiss, no. It's a loaded question.
Well, one of.
How is it loaded?
I guess
Peter White is Ween, right?
Yeah, it's Ween. I guess Black Flag. Not. It'd be Keith Morris Black Flag if I were to start as my first influence. Listen to a lot. Idols is a newer band that I listen to a lot frequently. And it's tough to elaborate when you guys don't know the bands that I'm talking about.
True,
Because
yeah, I
you guys
don't
are
really-
just flowing.
I know some new bands. Not all of them.
Yeah, I don't listen to the top hits, the charts, stuff like that. I like to go fast. Yeah, that's it. But I have no. You guys lost me 34 minutes ago.
Sorry.
It's all right.
So you live in an existential state that Martin Heidegger would call Heikunchunga, which means being there, right? You're
Correct.
right now.
No, I mean,
You ever present
You're
now?
of the now. You're not into all this nostalgic.
no, that's not necessarily
Scheiße.
true. That's not
Jeez.
necessarily true at all.
She's a show.
I mean, I like the Germans from 1979. Only lasted 1 year, very short run. But no, but the music I listen to puts you in the now. So I guess in some aspects you are correct in that.
Who's your favorite female singer?
My favorite female singer.
Can we use that term nowadays?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your favorite singer with a uterus, or either had one
that's
or
right.
it's gone.
That's
I mean, because Elizabeth Taylor's dead now, but she
I'm
was a
laughing
woman
too.
without a uterus.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they took it out of her.
So that means she's not a woman
1958.
anymore?
I don't know. I just know Democrats, including Joyce Craig, cannot use the word woman.
Yeah, it's like birth mother as opposed to.
It's almost like
So we're
it's
politically
like
correct?
Stockholm syndrome. You know,
Yeah.
I can't say I'm a woman.
you're setting me up for
I'm
success
a
right now.
woman, W-O-M-E-N. I guess I can say it, but no.
I am
Democrat
woman,
can.
watch me roar.
Oh yeah, well,
Helen Reddy, remember?
whose career was derailed by cocaine.
Was it?
Well, how many people were?
Yeah, it's true.
suffered from that?
Was that?
That's what killed George Carlin. Had like 2 massive heart attacks.
Yeah.
Coke.
Richard Pryor, right?
But we were talking.
Yeah.
Kyle was talking.
Kyle was talking.
I
Yeah.
actually had tickets to George Carlin the week before he died. Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom.
Oh, I'd have loved to have seen
I got
him
you
live.
beat. Although you'll know who it
My
is.
mother was
but
going to go see Elvis, but he croaked in
Thank you very much.
I
he
had
didn't make it to
tickets to
Portland.
that concert in Portland.
Right, my mother, we found,
Yeah.
Elvis. So finally my sisters buy her a ticket, and then he drops dead.
Yeah, it was like I remember we were supposed to go.
Rock of the Irish,
We
right?
were out in the middle
So
of
is he
nowhere.
part of the soundtrack of your life, John? Elvis?
Oh, I love Elvis. Great singer, but he had lousy material. But you were talking about Elvis.
good.
You were a man, and you talked over her.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
You
No, I was
got
just going to say that I was at a camp way out in the middle of nowhere, but we were going to go
See
that
Elvis.
night. It was that night, and the morning we didn't have.
He didn't wake up that morning. Yeah.
No, he didn't. And I remember one of the campers came running up. Elvis is dead, and we're all like,
That was
laughing.
big news,
We
believe
were,
that was
no,
front
we
page.
didn't
That-
believe.
John Lennon dying was
Yeah.
front page too.
We never
Hi.
got to see an old Elvis or an old John Lennon.
No, that's
Elvis is what,
sad.
42?
He died at 42 and John at 40.
40.
Yeah. But, yeah, Ma never got to see him. Then she finally got taken to Graceland, and all she'd say, it's so tiny. I
By
guess
comparison, huh? Yeah.
Well, it's a small place. You're expecting Elvis to have, like, a big mansion.
Yeah, it's really sad when you get old and all the people that you've admired, whether they be writers, singers,
Yeah, that's happening.
everything have all died.
Are you
I mean,
part of the morning show Death Pool?
No, I don't think
No.
so. I tune in. I tape the
Are
show.
you,
I watch.
Kyle?
I am part of the pool, yes.
I watched yesterday when you had James Chase on, the guy about,
did a-
talking about the Muriels.
Yes.
And Anthony Williams is talking about doing a second Cat Alley
Yeah,
Muriel. You know, there's one in between.
You mean a mural?
What am I
Muriel
saying?
is a
my,
is
yeah,
a
my,
woman. and
My
it's also
New
a
York,
brand that
my
cheats
New
cigars.
Yorkese is creeping in. But when I say Muriel,
Yes.
sure.
I'm thinking, what the hell is Muriel?
Yeah, what's
doing?
that? Let's have a glass of water. But I thought that was an interesting show
Oh, James Chase is doing big things down there.
about art in the city.
But it's gonna
Are you going to
expand
do
all
one
the
with
way.
dead celebrities, like murals of that?
That's not up to me. I'm not-
Nobody
I'm not
had
the mural
LQ
guy.
Jones, I bet.
I
You
did
just
not.
got
I went a little off the
94.
cuff with mine, but and
Larry Storch, there was one you missed.
Oh yeah, just the other day.
Yeah.
He
Who's
died?
that?
Larry's
Yeah,
dead at
I told
99.
you.
Oh, I forgot. What was he,
Told you.
99?
99.
Yeah, he was on the same subtender as Bernie Schwartz, who's on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Bernie
Not
Schwartz. Is that Tony Curtis?
Tony Curtis. He's one of the people on.
Remember him in Spartacus? Wasn't that funny? When he still had the Brooklyn accent. Save
Yeah,
me,
he could
Spartacus.
never get rid of that.
Help me, Spartacus. You know, the Romans and they're dying. He's saying, "Help me, Spartacus."
He's really not. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm exaggerating.
And Laurence Olivier tried to bugger him.
Really?
Yeah,
Uh,
but you know.
Olivier, the great Olivier.
Yeah, but they cut that part out of the movie. But
What
then
are
they
you
had to
gonna do?
resurrect it.
it's a shame.
Maybe you should have a pool on celebrity buggering.
There's so many pools we could potentially
I
do.
saw the show today. You had trivia with Bill Cini. They even
I
told
did.
me you didn't do that well.
I did not do that well, unfortunately. I won last week. It's a day by day.
I was with you.
I was
with
watching.
you.
I knew the answer to a couple of those questions.
Is that when the guy called in and he started giving all the answers and then?
Oh, that was during Family Feud yesterday. Which,
yesterday.
Which
Okay, that's the
was
one.
unwarranted.
Which I thought was I was like,
Family Feud.
I normally I was 9-1, and the game was compromised when my dear friend Ron.
So you
called in.
lost?
yeah.
They said I lost. They fixed the whole thing. And I
You
called
never win.
collusion. No, I in Family Feud I win every time.
Really?
But somebody called in, gave a bunch of wrong answers, said those were my answers, and
Yeah,
that
and
man
they're
was not
not.
part of my family, so I disagree with that result.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Maybe
they
this
want to take
person
me
should be
down,
in the
but
death pool.
we cannot do local people in the death pool. It's not allowed.
That's
Oh, it's like
sad.
who's gonna die next? Is that what
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Doesn't Howie Carr do that on the radio too?
Well, he's-
He may.
yeah.
He may.
Howie Carr used to have a thing like the next 3 people who are gonna pass.
Yeah, it's
Well, you had James Caan, right?
Yeah, that was a shock.
yeah.
But I saw him a video of him
I
a
thought
little
he
while
was
ago.
90,
He looked
not 80.
awful.
I thought he was one in 1931.
The thing about our death pool is, if you're on
No,
it,
he's
you're
not
actually
that
safer.
old.
You're substantially safer. Nobody's been touched in the death pool, so if we pick you, you're in good hands. So keep that in
You
mind.
mean you haven't had one person
Nope,
die
one
on
person.
you?
Nope, not one person.
You have to go to the.
Ladies' room.
Oh well, it's you know where the key is, right?
Yeah, it's
okay.
It should be hanging over there. Sorry, guys.
That's quite all right.
Did you give me my glasses?
No.
And the $100. You have to give her the $100.
I owe you $100. They're coming down. I don't know. Do you want me to read a poem, or are we?
Yeah,
I'd rather
read a
talk.
poem.
You sure? All right.
We don't have Eric calling in to talk about LQ Jones.
Easy G.
No, this is
We
a
don't know
different
what
Eric.
it is.
Oh,
What poem
your
is
friend
this?
Eric.
Eric Powell's just a good man.
Is this appropriate? Do you want? I'll be happy.
Is
to
it
do
dirty?
No.
How long is it?
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's zoom in on him.
It's a quick one. I was going to read this on my show, but I was just working on this stuff. Ready?
Yes,
Ready?
but can we get the camera on him?
It's on.
There we go.
Ready? Thank you, John. This poem is called Statues Everywhere. It's subliminally just about the last few years and so on. I let you make up your own mind as always, and here we go. Ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Claptrap, bad rap, sad sack. Quiet man over there. Toe tapping, broken laughing, always asking, where can I get my share? Like cool rain or bad pain, trying to explain how it is someone cares. Such dumb deeds, a nightmare's dreams. When will fate play fair? To conquer speeches or assure reaches by good people, who am I to even dare? Walking with teachers, talking to breeders of another republic streets, made of thought beyond compare. Oh, sit up, sit down, do as you're told. No, I swear. Oh, don't ask, just pass. Young or old, I see you there. At the meeting of lace. It's a secret anyway. You can speak to statues everywhere. So take back chit-chat, it's a layman's hat that king wears, with nothing fancy, taking second chances. The best plans, it'll be okay somewhere, as thieves weep and fathers sleep. It's a virgin beach these waves forever wear. Yes, swing batter, it's the last chapter. Time decides after the days past being there. Who are the judges? Who gets the summons? What's done is done. Not really, said the Republic chair. So paint the sun, draw the moon. Say it with love, say it again in separate pairs. Oh, lay low, watch the midnight show. See the folks seen like long ago. Let you know together we must grow into the telescopes that build, not boast. And this we bestow the people to whom time owes. A sweet hurrah, a dream's lot. A true thank God and a reasonable shot. At being one in many ways, for love needs love. And beneath the statue I pray, beneath the statue I pray. Oh, Romeo, be kind. You see, Juliet's all right. And whether eye to eye, all right. You can't hurt stone. You can only learn upon, and then eventually go home. Oh, statues not of stones. Statues cannot be told. Claptrap, bad rap, sad sack. Quiet man over there. That was it.
Yeah, that's Dylan-esque. You should do that to music.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Do you have any, or if you know somebody that can do music?
I just know Anthony's friend who has plays guitar, Brian.
Yeah,
Who's
that.
offered to eventually get together and do that. But like I said, I went to the art festival. Jason, what's his name? Bagata. Anthony invited me. It was an exhibit of his paintings.
That was really good.
So I actually got to read in front of a live audience. With all
You don't do live readings?
No.
I finally got to do it all in front of all kind of fartsy guys and everything, and they really liked me. I got invited back, and now I think they want to start getting more poetry live readings
'cause
together.
We used to
Besides
go
my
to
just
several
little show.
I'm
different
surprised they don't
places,
do that in Manchester.
But no, it's like
'Cause everybody
slam.
else-
It's slam poetry, and it's not
Yeah.
the same thing, you know. It just,
Right.
Well,
I
you
want
used to
to.
have coffee shops.
I want to ask you a question since you're so knowledgeable about
Sorry, I'll be
actors. My favorite actor growing up was named Michael Sarrazin.
Oh, yes, she loves Mike.
Have you
Who
ever
was
heard-
Greek?
Huh?
He was Jacqueline Bissett's boyfriend. He
Good
was
for you.
he was originally cast to
Yes.
play Joe Buck in
right. Universal
Midnight
would-
Cowboy, but there was a
Univers-
salary dispute.
Yeah. Universal wouldn't let him go.
Yeah.
And so
walking
John Voight,
Yep.
gave his
Could have been totally
epochal-
different.
Yeah.
I thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know.
And he wound up making the worst film that Julie Christie was ever in Search of Gregory.
Oh
which
my
is
God, that was the
god-awful.
silliest
I
movie.
used to love. I love.
She had to make. I love. Oh, you're of it. Yeah, of course. She was Lara.
She was almost like a poetic actress. Didn't you think?
That's what Al Pacino said. She was the most poetic of all
Really?
actresses.
Oh,
So they asked
I
him
agree.
who's the best actress, and he said that, and they said, "Well, that's Julie Christie." And he wouldn't go any further than that. But when I used to say that to guys that were younger than me, that was born, oh my God, my father says, "What is it about you old guys?" And I was only like 40 at that point.
It's a relative statement.
No, you can't use
Some
the word
things are always
actress
good.
anymore. They're actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a man's world, like James Brown sang.
There was a guy, huh?
Oh, Jesus.
It's very intense.
When it comes into dope, I remember when he was a Back to Africa guy in the early 70s. When he sold out and he's in like one of the Rocky movies singing about how I love the USA. It's like, holy
Living
Christ.
in the USA.
Yeah, because the IRS, he's in debt to the IRS. Now he's going to kiss Ronald Reagan's ass. At least Willie, with all his IRS troubles, never kissed anybody's ass. He would just have to tour forever as he smoked his grass and paying off that big tax debt.
They really
But when you
ate
know,
some of them alive.
when some like John
Fox,
Voight
too.
was a big left winger, then he became
Really?
a Trump ass kisser. Yeah,
Wasn't he
he
coming
was a
home?
great actor. Oh yeah, he won the
Was
Oscar
he in
for
that movie?
that.
Jane Fonda, yeah. That was good.
But Dustin Hoffman had changed Hollywood so much that suddenly strange-looking ethnic leading
You're right.
men became
He was
the
not your
thing.
conventional leading man.
Only Robert Redford was a
Classic.
Of course he was Irish, though. Everybody called him the Irishman. Of course. Well, actually, they called Jack Nicholson the Irishman because he gambles, drinks, and screwed every woman he could get his hands on, regardless of who he's living.
What are you
what
saying
woman he's
about
living
Jack?
with. So when outside of like Boston, when you say somebody's an Irishman, it's an insult.
It's an insult.
It is in New York because they were. So why is everybody? I have an English name, but John, that you look Irish, they think you're Irish. Say, why do they hate the Irish? There's 2 million Irishmen in New York City. They said, yeah, and they were all cops. Every other ethnic group thinks Irish is cops.
That was the stereotype, wasn't it?
And he says, I said, but now they got the Italian and even Puerto Rican and Jewish cops. Says, yeah, and they're all Irish too. They all behaved like the guys that broke them in.
That's terrible.
And and even in
they all
San
meet at the
Francisco,
donut
and everything,
shop.
Irish Catholic priests, ran roughshod and everybody. Because you're out in Los Angeles and you finally meet like Latino priests, and they're quite different than the Irish Catholic. It's a different religion. They're a lot nicer people.
Yeah.
Because Irish Catholicism is almost like Protestant.
Remember some of those old movies? Some of
Puritanism.
those Irish priests were pretty tough.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, well,
They
Pat, what's his
Pat
name?
O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien.
Spencer Tracy.
Well, Spencer Tracy. Remember, if you didn't have that collar on in Boys Town, so he takes the collar up, turns the collar
He
around.
was in San
he slung the guy.
Francisco. He played a priest.
Yeah, he was a priest in San Francisco
Was there
too.
another
Clark
movie?
Gable.
San Francisco,
Cisco,
open your golden gates.
San
Jeanette
Francisco.
McDonald. Gable didn't want to be on that movie, but then Louis B. Mayer says Jeanette McDonald took a cut in salary to do this.
Really?
So he's probably lying. But see, Spencer Tracy failed at Fox as a movie star, so MGM just picked him up to be like Clark Gable's friend.
Wow.
Yeah,
But then he became a star
Boomtown
himself.
and they did
Right, that was like the
quite-
last one.
Yeah,
where they're just pals.
Yeah.
And he's always number 2, and he never gets a
Yeah.
Myrna Loy.
Like,
But then he became a star during World War II.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah,
They had Dave
Olivier
Black- like
thought
that
him
Dave Blackrock?
and Brando. Yeah,
That was a good one.
him and Brando were the great American actors.
Interesting guy, Marlon Brando.
Well,
Name
we're
a
not going to
French
talk
actor.
about him. We've talked about him a lot.
I'm
Name
sorry.
a French actor.
Gerard Depardieu.
Who
I
was
used
a
to
citizen
love
of
him.
Russia.
Yeah, she
I
loves.
used to
she's
love
When I first
him.
met her, that was her hero.
That and
Gerard
then
Well,
Depardieu.
he was an
he
actor.
went,
Young
Whoa.
Yeah, young Gerard Depardieu was like Brando, and just that animal intensity. Then he
yes.
became like Brando earlier,
Yeah, when he got-
Brando retired and became like 500
He
pounds. but
ballooned out nicely.
and he
yeah.
kept making movies.
Yeah.
But the early movies, he was superb.
He
But
was.
like an
I have
animal.
all of the
Very,
older ones.
yeah.
I don't have
gregarious, I
any
think
of
is
the
word,
newer
right?
ones.
What?
Gregarious
Goofy
personality,
fly.
bigger than life or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also made fun of his nose, but that's beside the point.
Oh, did you know? You probably know this, but on the waterfront. Remember when Marlon Brando's walking with Eva Marie Saint?
Well, you're going to have to tune in Friday to
She drops her glove?
Because Eric Pilcher is going to be doing a movie review on the waterfront.
Oh, excellent.
He was supposed to come in to do the LQ Jones thing. We'll have to show the LQ Jones. But you can come back and talk about. Why don't you come back in 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, if you want me to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being so cordial and nice.
Yeah, but you should organize poetry readings.
No, we're going to.
Yeah.
At the.
It's
Art
my
Center.
fault. I need to type it all up.
I got so many, but I gotta.
You don't type?
Slowly.
No.
I get things published here and there, one by one, but not really. It's hard to make money in poetry, even if you put a book together.
I know.
You gotta write stories and
even
novels.
stories. You know.
It's gotta be. You gotta hit the right venue at the right time. It just.
But I do love doing it. I'm not trying to make excuses. I mean, I just love words. And
Carl, do you ever do poetry?
I do not do poetry. I do used to write songs, but I do not do poetry. No, unfortunately, I don't have time to do. I don't have time to write anything.
So you're not sore over the copyright dispute over Dumpster Baby that you're not on the copyright?
No, I'm used to people taking my material. It's all right. My intellectual properties. It's fine.
We all wrote a song on the show about a romance at a greasy spoon.
Oh.
And when Dumpster Baby, we're not talking about one of these cheerleaders that's has the kid during the prom and throws at the Dumpster Baby. No, this is about a line cook and a waitress that consummate their love in the dumpster.
I feel like you
But
wrote
then
this for
the
she have the
shift
baby?
manager, no baby,
no
she's the
baby.
baby.
Oh, she's the
Because then
baby.
the shift manager starts honing in, and so he's at back at the frying, and he hears the dumpster roll.
Is this based
that
on
lid,
anything?
boom, boom, boom.
it's based on anything real.
I think so. It's a slice of real life.
Slice
Yeah,
of
it
real
sure
life.
sounds
Yeah.
like
I think from Hope, Arkansas. Yeah, Bill Clinton's hometown.
Good old Bill.
People don't remember that Bill worked his way through Oxford University,
Yes, he
or
did.
was it Yale? At flipping hamburgers
That's
at
right.
the.
William
He was the
Jefferson
original dumpster baby.
Yeah.
Well, not the dumpster baby.
Please don't mention Hillary. That woman drives me crazy.
I can tell you some
Then when they
stories
asked
about
Jimmy
that
Carter,
off
Mr.
the
Carter, you a Democrat or a Republican? He goes, yes, I am. Jimmy Carter.
Well, we got Jimmy Carter too in the White House right now, and I voted for him in the primary and for president.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm never going to vote again. Just
Not
like
gonna vote
George
again?
Carlin says, voting's for fools. I'd say voting locally makes a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Because not in the state, even the state house.
Sometimes
But,
you feel marginalized when your vote doesn't count. I mean, I should.
But see,
not
that's why
really.
locally, aldermen, it depends, and aldermen can affect your life.
Yes.
Yeah, and the mayor, and we have. I think Chris Pappas is an excellent congressman. He's certainly up at the VA all the time,
Well, that's
making
good.
sure good things happen there.
Oh, good.
So maybe I will vote.
Yeah. Be
It's always
positive.
that thing, you get so mad at everybody, but then it comes, you better get your ass. I voted every year since 1977. The one year I didn't vote was 84 because.
You think you're gonna run again?
I didn't. Reagan was going to wipe
Well,
the thing. No, never again.
John, you got to run for office.
Oh,
You
Jesus.
can do it.
What are you, Marlon Brando now?
I'm
Going to
gonna
make me an
do it.
offer I can't refuse.
I can't do a good Marlon Brando, can you?
No, but we're going to wrap up now. We got why don't we show the late LQ Jones and Strother Martin. And are you there, Brendan? We'll run that last video, and maybe we'll talk about him next week. Bye.